Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street LCX video here today. This is a great exchange, an upcoming one really. They did change the brand and things that they were doing over the last few years, but right now big focus on being a massively regulated exchange, especially a big topic since the last few weeks, as we already know what's happened with FTX and many other exchanges out there. The good thing about regulation or being regulated, both in the country that these projects are built in and also regulatory bodies around the world, gives great infrastructure for the years to come, especially for users both inside Web3 right now and new users that will be coming over the years to come. So guys, LCX is one of the many topics and discussions that we have on the channel. Do go check out our other videos on the channel as well. And also, if you have not done so already, please do make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the bell button as well if you want to get notified of any of the other videos we do. Keep an eye out for our YouTube shorts as well. I do some of those at least once a day now on various different topics. Feel free to reach out to us on Telegram or anything if there's anything particular that's happened or want some thoughts on. We're more than happy to jump onto those straight away. So guys, we're in with LCX. LCX gets a lot of flack. I don't know if many people go on things like CoinMarketCap and you see like the chat sections. I think a lot of people just jump on these things and just talk about scam coins and things like this. It's very odd. But you know, if you have general research and information as to why you're negative towards these tokens, I'm all ears. But everyone, when I've asked them in chats and things as to like, well, what do you think is negative about it, or like what have you seen in your research, and they don't reply, or they come up with some other nonsense that's irrelevant. So I'm intrigued to know out there, guys, like what your thoughts are on LCX. I mean, you know, as I said, exchanges are what they are right now. Being in the Web3 space, myself working in this environment, I get over the last year a multitude of exchanges coming for like free listings or, you know, reduced fees and things like this. And it was very apparent actually, especially over the last few months. I would say a few months ago actually, mainly, where all of a sudden all these exchange listers were coming towards us as a project and asking like, well, you know, do you want to list? Do you want to list? And it was a bit weird, you know, like when something happens too much, you're kind of like, what's going on here? Maybe, just maybe, some of these exchanges were having trouble with liquidity, and I know that's a big fact at the moment with what's come to light in the last few weeks. So it's very interesting. But my topic kind of swings around into a positivity because we've got an exchange, for example, the likes of LCX here, who do some great work, great information out there. Of course, in Liechtenstein, they have, I think, over 8 regulation standardizations already approved for this aspect. And of course, this is something they will continue to build upon, I'm sure, across multitude of regions, continents, and countries around the world. The exchange itself is very new. We have to understand this. A lot of people in some of the comments always say like, oh, there's not enough tokens on there, there's not enough pairings. Well, there's a reason for that. They're quite new in this space for the actual exchange mechanism itself. But for me, I'm very interested as well from the trade application of LCX as well. I do think this is going to have a strong mechanism for both retail investors and institution levels as well. I've signed up, I've got an account, and it is quite intuitive, and it is slightly different to some of the other exchanges. It feels a bit more professional, but yes, they do lack a lot of assets on there. That will come with time for sure. And of course, LCX, the tokenization of this being used for fees and other elements for their tokenization aspect of the project. This is something that will really develop. I think this is going to grow quite significantly over the years to come. It's got a good team behind it. They were recently, actually, I think Monty was there, I believe his CEO, was at the recent Cardano event, and actually some volumes kicked in to both LCX and some of its pairings on there as well. So networking is obviously a big thing. Marketing is a big thing. Here's Monty here at the Cardano Summit. I know it says 2020. That's actually 2022. A bit of a typo there. Not to worry. But yeah, this is really interesting because we now have an exchange here that is really looking for compliance and regulation. We've seen Binance have come out massively over the last few weeks, very conveniently as well, talking about proof of reserves, proof of liquidity, proof of funds, all of these new terminologies that are swinging by now in the crypto space. And I think it's very interesting. We've got to understand as well, LCX is on some of the really top exchanges. Kraken and Coinbase Exchange. Now, just because they're on top exchanges doesn't mean it could necessarily be a fraudulent token or anything like this. I'm not saying LCX is. I mean, in general, when these kind of big companies do their due diligence on tokens that they're adding and the utility of them and the companies that they are, first and foremost, this is where it gets a lot more stability in my mindset. And it's definitely something over the last few weeks that I've been very much more conscious about. What exchanges I will be using from now on, if any. I'm definitely using more of my assets within Ledger. I've got pretty much everything across the Ledger now, or some form of wallet that's in my control to the best extent that I can. But also the principle as well of buying tokens through the Ledger system and things like this. But there will always be instances where we need some exchanges, right? I haven't been on Coinbase personally for a long time. Previously, I've been buying LCX on Bitrue. I'm quite comfortable and happy with Bitrue, but yeah, of course, it's good to know that there are some top exchanges here that hold the LCX Exchange token. But of course, mentioning buying LCX directly on the LCX Exchange makes probably a lot more sense, or even more sense, than any of the other options as well. So I will be doing a mini video about LCX Exchange in terms of buying tokens and transporting them across, withdrawing, depositing, etc. To Ledger and other devices in the coming week or so. But yeah, there's some top exchanges here, some of the lower ones with various different liquidity options on here. But yeah, Bitrue I've used for a number of months now, and I'm quite happy with it. But still, I take my assets off as much as possible and when possible. But as I said, it's good to see them on other big exchanges too. So it's a bit more of a confidence thing. What I'm trying to kind of basically ascertain in this particular video is people's like maybe negativity towards this. I think there's a lot of negativity towards exchanges in general anyway right now. So we have to look for really decent ones and ones that are really applicable to us. How they're going to be more secure for us. How can we trust them? How can we be more confident with them moving forwards? And LCX I feel is a really strategic one. It's really good. I would call like front facing. What I mean by this is like the team is very open. They're very much in the public domain as well, going to big events like this, talking to big institutions like Cardano and other networking opportunities as well. It's good to put faces to these kind of things for sure. And there's many exchanges out there where you just have no idea what the team are, or you've never seen them in public or anything like this. Not necessarily physically in public. I'm talking about like online with PR and stuff like this. So very interesting points really. And the other thing as well I like here is about the auditing. Hacken I've worked with before. They're a phenomenal audit team, very heavy and strict. So it's good to get good scoring and ratings with these kind of audit protocols for sure. Certic as well, of course, a massive company, and it's good to have these badges here really with the implications of like what the audit is for these. So as well as the blockchain regulation aspects and what I'm sure they'll achieve elsewhere outside their own country, is the other audit applications too, guys. I think this is really important to understand for sure. So we have to kind of really think about this in more detail as we're looking into these kind of exchanges and what they're applying to with their regulations and standards to protect us and protect their funds, to ensure that we don't have any more repeats of what happened with FTX moving forward. So that's just a few thoughts there about LCX. There's some other couple bits of information coming out, a few new token listings, which is quite good to see. And just continuous development. I really like the intuitive information they put out there, education piece, knowledge pieces to people, giving people extra chance that are perhaps new to crypto or coming into the space to learn a bit more about the things they need to be aware of and stuff like that. It's very responsible, in my opinion, from an exchange. So that's just a few points. We can jump straight into the chart, guys, for LCX, because the token hasn't really moved significantly since the last video. But for sure, it's always something I like to talk about because we're looking at things for the future, right? We're in a bear market. We're probably going into a deeper bear market and even into a winter market very soon as well, in my opinion, over the next few months. We'll have to see if that actually plays out into the coordination of what I'm suggesting here. But my point being, is that when we find little gems like this, it gets quite exciting. There's a big uptake for LCX still to come, in my opinion. We saw highs of around, I think, 40 cents back when it did its relaunch, and throughout the remainder of last year in 2021, which is a year ago. I can't believe that I'm talking about it as if it was yesterday. It was a year ago. I can't believe that. We've had the downward trend like we've had with pretty much all crypto assets right now. And we're playing around with this 4 cent area. And if you remember from the previous video, we did draw in some areas of interest for purchasing. And that was actually now hitting these lower areas that are below the fib retracements that we drew previously based on historic data. So we're now at these areas, and my buy orders have been coming in on Bitrue for these. I've been putting them straight into my ledger device as they've been coming in. I don't have any lower orders just yet. I've literally just been focusing on the moments just under the 4 cent mark. So I'm great and pleased to see those come in. As I said, I think this is a great opportunity for a fantastic exchange for the years to come. Will I be having lower orders? For sure. I need to plan those in, I'll be honest. But I can actually probably talk to you about this right now. My definitive sort of scenario with this is the lower regions of 3 cents. And for sure just above 2.5 cents as well. I'm not going to go any lower than that just yet in terms of buy orders, because I'd like to see how the market's reacting over the next few weeks, off the back still of a tail or whirlwind, if you like, of what's been going on with exchange conversations recently anyway. But I do think if they can continue to talk about regulation and integration of things like this, we will see some positive outcomes for LCX. You see on the right side for the year, we're about 80% down still. So there's a lot of upturn still to come, irrespective of if the price still comes down a bit lower. We'll have to see what Bitcoin does reaction-wise and what's going on with the macro events around the world in general anyway. You can see here on the MACD, the blue line here, indicating here the momentum of a sell-off is still occurring. It's dying down slightly, but it's not quite narrowing the gap just as much as I thought it would be. So I'm anticipating a bit of stability for LCX token over the next few days and into next week. But from a buying perspective, 40 on the 14-day and 43 on the 28-day is a really good entry point for me, or a DCA opportunity if you're new and looking for positions on the way down for sure. We did have a bit lower a few days ago back here on the 21st of November, seeing 37 and 41 respectively on the 14 and the 28 day. So I'm just waiting around really. I'm buying some manual positions as and when I can at this area, but I am still anticipating some further drops around the whole market eventually. We'll have to see how that plays out. Let's know what you think about that. That's just my thoughts and opinions based on data and history and trend and what's going on in the world, right? So I'm keeping an eye out. If this comes back down to see these sort of like 37 or lower areas of RSI, this is usually where we'd see an indication of it dropping towards that 3 cent mark. So that's what I'm anticipating. So far, the buy orders have been coming in nicely on all the assets that we have holdings here on Wales and Wall Street. So it's a good indication that hopefully we know roughly what we're doing. You can't always predict the future, but you can at least anticipate strategically on the way down to try and accumulate. And I want to accumulate as much LCX as possible. Some people were commenting, that this could be a BNB price in the future. Who knows? I mean, if it gets the amount of mass adoption that Binance has done over the last few years, that is possible. I remember buying BNB way low prices in 2020. Almost as a joke to think about like Binance is going to be a big exchange in the future, and it rose massively to like obscene amounts of money, hundreds of dollars. So LCX could do a similar pattern. I think this is more of a long-term thing, but certainly something I'm looking at selling off maybe in between the next 5 and 10 years. That's how long-term I am with this. Of course, the next bull run might change my mind on that, but I'm at least anticipating buying at this 4 cent region to at least get to the previous all-time highs of around 40 odd cents and beyond that. That's the return I'm looking at for initial takeout on my investment on LCX. Guys, we're going to wrap this up there. Let us know what you think about the LCX token and the exchange itself. Are you using it? What are your concerns, if any at all? Drop them in the comments, because we love to cover all aspects of all projects. We're trying to be as unbiased as possible, and we need your views and feedback for that to happen as well. But thank you very much for watching this one. We're going to do an update on LCX next week. We're going to try and do an AMA with these guys as well. I'm going to reach out to them, see if we can get them on board, talk a bit more about compliance and regulation, and what their achievements look like in their minds for the next few years. And that might put a few people at ease as well. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.